Hey guys, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven, and Buddy. Buddy is just napping, or he's trying to nap because I'm talking. That's one of the reasons I have the lights kind of dim, because he doesn't like the lights very bright. I don't want to disturb him. He's wiped out after spending most of the day outside. He deserved the time outside because he was really cooped up for quite a long time last week, so he deserved a good long walkabout today. So it's been a hot minute since I filmed a video. It's been probably more than a week now. A day or two ago, I got a message from Tracy. Hi, Tracy. And she said, hey, where have you been? We haven't seen you. And how's Buddy? So I figured it's time for a video. There is a video I keep talking about making, but I haven't done it yet, is about sleeping and being a flight attendant. It's something I have yet to master. I have not mastered the skill set of sleeping as a flight attendant, but I do want to chat about that a little bit. I think it's interesting, but I do want to put some thoughts together before I film that video. Otherwise, it will be even more disjointed and rambling than my typical video. So that's coming probably this week. I want to chat with you guys about getting my passport renewed, because that's coming up, and there's some new, I guess, new-ish rules around passports and traveling internationally. And I've got a schedule next month that I kind of liked a lot until I was sapped. Now, schedule adjustment period, just so you know. In my airline, we call it Sapped. I'm sure other airlines have the same thing, but they call it, I'm sure, something different. And I'll let you know about that and how it's messing up my whole month. So let's see. Let's catch you up as to what happened last week. Briefly, I had 2 back-to-back 3-day trips, which is thoroughly exhausting. By day 5, I am deeply fatigued. Just awful. So the first 3-day trip was pretty easy. We worked with my crew for the month. We worked most of our trips together this month. The person who typically flies lead is someone I can work with. I don't really particularly love working with her, and I don't think she's going to ever watch this video. I hope. I like her. She's fine, but there are times that our personalities just don't, So in those cases, I usually just hide in the back. I'm flying position B most of those trips, so that's where I sit anyway. But the person who typically flies C this month is fantastic. I just adore her. So we have a good time in the back. But I'm also trying to prepare for recurrent. So we're either chatting or I'm reading my flight attendant manual and my bulletins. So it was a pretty good, pretty uneventful trip until the last leg, which was from Cleveland to Las Vegas. There's a big giant conference here with builders and contractors and that kind of thing. It was a pretty big show, apparently. And boy, that last leg was something else. I can't say that they were drunk, because I'm not a medical professional, and my airline lets me know that I am not to make that determination that they're drunk, but they were definitely approaching it. My coworker C and I were in the back of the aircraft. The 2 folks in the front, the chaser and the lead, they took care of most of the hottest areas of beverage imbibing. And I personally they weren't drunk, I can't say that, but they were definitely rowdy and sort of on the verge of misbehaving. Nothing dangerous, nothing safety related, but they were getting a little out of hand. I tend to be a little bit more cautious and take a little bit more time between serving cocktails. So I would hope that I wouldn't have let it get as loud as it did, but it got kind of messy. We ran out of ice because we served that many drinks. Probably halfway through, the flight was 4.5 hours. It was blocked at 4:32 or 4:37. And we ran out of ice in less than 2 hours. In the end, I think we had to sort of stop serving. We did still sell the occasional snack and things, but we kind of had to stop serving because it was getting to the point where I think we would have had to cut off like 30 or 40 people. And so we had to kind of play it safe. We did our obligatory services that we're supposed to do for that long length of a flight, but it got to be where it was going to be a safety issue, I think, if we kept serving. That was interesting, and I think the determination was something you have to, as a flight attendant, be very, very aware of your passengers or your guests and how much they drank. And it's so important to be in constant communication with your crew members so that you know who was served what. So you're not going to overserve. It could be dangerous. We didn't want them getting into Vegas already a problem, you know. But that was the only sort of challenge during that whole trip. We had about 15, 16 hours between that 3-day and the next one. I spent that at home with Buddy. He was not happy with me after those 3 days. He just did not like me. He took a swipe at my face. Partly because I wouldn't leave him alone because I missed him so much, but he was not happy with me. He did warm up a little bit the next morning, of course, just before I had to leave for work, another 3-day trip. So I made sure he was set with food and drinks and his litter boxes were clean and all that. And I tricked him into staying indoors, blah, blah, blah. That next trip, the 3-day, was pretty good. No real problems. On day 2, we had one leg from Houston to Orlando. It was the easiest day of the trip. So we got into Orlando, and I guess crew scheduling had tried to call us. So when we got off the aircraft, you know, our phones are still in airplane mode because we're legal like that, you know. We're on the shuttle to the hotel, and the lead checks her voicemail, and I check my voicemail. C checks her voicemail, and crew scheduling had called all of us. And then they called the lead again while her phone was off airplane mode. And we all kind of looked at each other like, oof, what do we do? What do we do? And we asked ourselves that because technically we don't have to really answer our phone. Once we're on a trip, we're line holders. We're not on reserve. It's nothing like that. And we've been assigned a trip, and we're not really legally obligated, I don't believe, to to answer our phones. So we listened to the voicemails again, and they said, "Hi, this is so-and-so at crew scheduling. Please call us in terms of a possible reroute." None of us wanted a reroute, particularly me, because I made some horrific sleeping choices the night before. I didn't sleep the night before because it was such an easy leg. I thought, no, I'll be fine. I'll sleep in Orlando. I did. But so, we called crew scheduling back just a few minutes later, and to be respectful. And we told them we were on the way to the hotel, and they said, well, okay, disregard. So they finally, I'm sure they got some reserves or somebody to take the trip they wanted to give us. They really couldn't do much with us with the way our schedule was. They could have made us do it's so funny. When you're a flight attendant, I think for me, I don't think Orlando when I'm thinking Orlando. I think MCO. I don't really think Orlando. I can hardly remember the name of Fort Myers. I just go RSW. I don't even think of the city's name. But they could have sent us to Fort Myers for a turn, or a Puerto Rico turn, or maybe, a Baltimore turn possibly, but they really couldn't have done much with us. So no skin off our teeth. If they really wanted us to do something, if they needed us desperately, they could have called the pilots using the ACAR system on the aircraft and let us know through the flight crew that they needed us to call them when we landed. Easy as pie, but they chose not to do that. So there you go. So that was the only mildly interesting thing that happened. That trip, the person who's typically lead this month swapped out of this trip. So someone I really like a lot took this trip instead. So she was leading. It was a really, really great crew. Had a wonderful time. So no big whoop, but it was a very, very long 6-day. So when I got back, Buddy was still a little miffed. He's usually really good, but after these trips, he's just been really, really irritated with me. It's taken him probably a full day to relax and be nice to me, because he certainly isn't nice to other cats. All day long, he's been a jerk. He's been a real jerk. He's been terrorizing the cats. Sometimes when Buddy wants to go out for a walk, sometimes he wants to go by himself, and that's most of the time. But there's a posture that I've come to understand that means, come with me. And so we will go for a walk around the apartment complex together. I'll choose a direction sometimes, and sometimes he'll choose the direction. And it's really a lot of fun to see him, his little wiggle and his little bouncy walk. I just love him. Oh my God, I love this cat. He's napping successfully, which is really weird because I'm talking so much. But let's see, what else is going on? Oh, my passport. So I guess the new rule, I don't know if it's a new rule, but it's the first I've heard of it, is that we can't really do international turns if our passport, or trips, I should say, if our passport is going to expire within 6 months. And my passport expires on July 19th, and today's February 23rd. So it's within 6 months, you know, I'm overdue, I think. So being that today is now officially Saturday, I don't think that the passport offices are open on weekends. I don't think they are. So on Monday, I'm going to fly to either LA or San Diego. Someone told me San Francisco is easier too. I have been thinking of flying to Boston because I know exactly where the office is. But I can walk into a passport office with an appointment, and I can let them know I'm a flight attendant, and I'll go to the office with my badge and my identification. I think I'll probably have to bring my FAA card as well. But I can actually get a same-day expedited passport, so I don't have to wait, 6 weeks for a passport. So I'm planning on going to get my passport. Apparently it's going to cost like $200. It's, I forget how much it is. The passport itself isn't very expensive, but it's the expediting that actually adds a lot of the cost. So yeah, there you go. So I'm going to be doing that to get my new passport. Let's see, it'll be good because my passport will match my face. 10 years ago, I did not have a beard, and I was a little bit chubbier in the cheek, so I actually will look like my passport. That'll be nice. Let's see, so what else is going on? Oh, all right, so if you watched, for some reason, the video I did a few weeks ago on bidding, I made a short video about bidding as a reserve flight attendant with my airline on Flicka. So, each month as a reserve, you bid for your reserve notification period. And if you're a line holder, for sure, as I am, you bid for a line, which is a schedule. And next month, March, is my birthday. And I should back up. We also bid for our vacation periods. So, I think it is it January or November? I forget what month it is. It might be January. But we bid for our vacation for the next year. And my first choice, I got my first choice because no one else wanted that week off. It is March 18th through the 24th. I guess the weather isn't very nice anywhere in the country that week, so no one else wanted it, so I got my first choice. And I chose that week for vacation because it is, my birthday is smack dab in the middle of that week. So yeah, March 21st, I turn 50. I know it's not a shock to you because I look like this. But you know, inside my head, sometimes I'm 23 years old. So it's kind of startling to me that I'm turning 50. Holy God. So why is this a challenge? Well, my recurrent, I think I mentioned this earlier, once a year, every flight attendant has to be recertified to be an active flight attendant. And so our airline calls that training recurrent. Other airlines call it something like CQ or something like that. But so we call it recurrent. My recurrent was scheduled for March 18th, which if you just heard me, is the first day of my vacation week, which can't happen. So so they changed my day of recurrent to March 14th. All right, so to catch up on my next month, I have recurrent on the 14th, and then I have my vacation from the 18th through the 24th. When I was bidding for a schedule for March, I was trying to bid around my birthday. Ideally, in the perfect world or the perfect universe, it would have had to have been a parallel one because it didn't happen this time. I was hoping to actually have those days of my vacation week off. I was hoping to find a line that had those days off. Because if I bid around my vacation, I would have a full month's schedules of trips, and then I would have my vacation pay on top of that, which would have meant a lot of time and a half, because anything over 85 hours is time and a half in my company. So that would have meant like 20 hours of overtime. It would have been great. But apparently there wasn't even one line that would have allowed me to do that. So what I did when I bid for my line this month for March is I bid for overnights that I really wanted. And I got some of them that I really wanted. The first trip is a 24-hour layover in Tampa. I'm super excited. It means that we get in, it's a red eye to Tampa from Vegas. We'll get into Tampa about 4:50 a.m., which doesn't sound very exciting until you realize that I get to go to sleep until about 9:30 or so, wake up, and I'll get an Uber over to Busch Gardens, which is my favorite amusement park. Well, I really haven't been to another one for a long time, but I love Busch Gardens. So I'll just take an Uber over to Busch Gardens and enjoy the whole day riding roller coasters. And then the last trip of the month, I have a 24-hour layover in Detroit. And I love me a Detroit layover because as hard as it is for me to sleep on layovers sometimes, I never fail to get a good night's sleep in Detroit, mostly because there's nothing around to distract me from sleeping. There is a mall nearby, but after you've been there a couple times, it's just, there's no reason to go. So those are the 2 trips I have left on my schedule. The rest of the month, wiped clean. So, I think I mentioned being sapped earlier, right? So, I had a trip that was supposed to happen during my vacation week. So my airline removed me from that trip because I have my vacation week. My recurrent is on March 14th now, which is in the middle of a trip. And because recurrent happens in that trip, what they did was just take me off that trip altogether. So my original line was supposed to have 4 days. Thankfully, all of them are relatively short because the first leg of each trip is a red eye, thank goodness. So it really cuts the length of time I'm away from Buddy to a minimum for a 4-day trip. But so my schedule was supposed to block me at like 81 hours, 82 hours. I'm only left with like 32 hours or 34 hours after those 2 trips were removed from my schedule. I know. So what do I do, right? So it's called being sapped. And you can be sapped in that if you have a trip that is in, say, February, and you have a trip that overlaps it, because this trip in March, the first trip in March, might overlap or touch that other trip where it's illegal, where there's not enough rest, this trip will be taken away from you. So that's one reason to be sapped. So you can't have your trips overlapping or touching too closely. So that trip will be removed. If you have vacation scheduled, for example, if a trip is in or touches your vacation, that trip will be removed from your schedule. And another case, like for example, my recurrent training is going to happen during a time I'm supposed to have a trip. So that trip is being removed from my schedule as well. So when you're sapped, and I've avoided it for 2 years because it just sounds like so much work, and I'm lazy by nature. I just work my line. I'm very happy working my line. I rarely swap or drop anything. I just give me a schedule, I'll work it no matter what. But now that my schedule for the month has been reduced to like 32 or 34 hours, I'm being credited. Now, this is going to make it sound a little confusing, if it hasn't already sounded confusing. Because I am being credited for my vacation, because it's a paid vacation, I get 28 hours of credit for my vacation. I am credited time for my recurrent training. I think it's only 4 hours. It's a real long day, but we're only paid for 4, I think. So I'm getting credit for those. We also get credit for homework. We probably have, I don't know, 4, 6, 7 hours of, maybe, is it 8 hours? It might be 8 hours of online courses that we have to have finished before we go to recurrent. So we're actually paid for that time as well. So I do get credit for the 30 some odd hours that are left in my schedule. I get credit for recurrent training. I get credit for homework, and I get credit for my vacation. So I'm going to have a credit for March of 76 hours and something minutes. Really nice. So I'm being paid for those 76 hours. Super, right? But I'm not going to get per diem for either of those 4-day trips that were removed from my schedule, which adds up to a fair amount of money. That could be, $300-400, if not more, because they're, 2 4-day trips. So that's a lot of money. No, maybe it's a little less. It's probably closer to 300. But that's the amount of money I would lose from per diem. So there's a couple things I have, a couple choices. I could go into Sapped online. We use Flicka, which is a website that we work with to work with scheduling and get information from our company. So what happens there is I go into the open time pot, because everyone's bid awards were just recently awarded. So there's a lot of open trips in what we call the open time pot that were not part of scheduled lines. So what happens is, typically in open time, if you want to pick up a trip for your days off, you just go into open time, select the trips you'd like to work, and you're awarded those trips based on your seniority. And that means usually I don't get anything I want because I'm pretty darn junior. So anyone senior to me at all by even one number can pick that trip up, and I would not get it. But when you're sapped, we actually get to go into open time before anyone else can. And we get first choice in those trips to get back some of the hours that were taken away from our schedule for whatever reason. So because I have, I'm going to have 40 hours or more removed from my schedule in March. That means that I'm probably going to be one of the first people to actually choose their Sapped trips. Because, I didn't tell you this, usually it's based on seniority. But when it comes to Sapped, whoever has the most hours removed from their schedule, as I believe, gets first choice. They get the first award for the first round. So because I have like almost 40 hours, if not more, removed from my schedule, I think I probably am going to be one of the first people to get their choice. So I did go on to Flicka and I bid for like 10 trips, and all of them would give me a fair number of hours to make up for the ones that were removed from my schedule. And I should probably get one of those trips, so it's not really an issue. The other option, and I probably still have part of tomorrow to decide whether or not to do this. The other option I have is to not bid for any trips, to actually, cancel the request for picking up trips. Because I'm being credited for 76 hours, I could just take that time off. All I would have to do between March 5th and March 27th, I think, would be to go to recurrent for one day. So if I chose time off instead of money, I could do that, and that would give me most of a month off, actually. But we all know I'm not rolling in dough, so I'm choosing to pick up a trip. So that is what March is going to look like, and I'll find out, I think on the 25th, I'll find out whether or not what I was awarded in terms of a trip. So I have successfully avoided being sapped for 2 years. But now that I am being sapped, boy, I got hit hard with the sap stick. So I hope, if that didn't make any sense to you, as a person who's not a flight attendant yet, there's a reason for that. And it's because during initial training, you're taught all about safety and every aspect of safety on that aircraft. But we don't even touch most of the little day-to-day details that we really do need to know when you're a flight attendant. So for me, it took a lot of trial and error to figure out what to do on Flicka to get into SAP and figure out what to do. But if that sounded confusing, welcome to the lingo. There's so much to learn after training. And it's 2 years in, and I'm still learning like how to bid. So yeah, so ask for help. You'll need it. What else is going on? I told you about my passport. I think I did. My birthday. So, I'll be turning 50. Where this video is already long. I'm turning 50. Oh, and I've always thought, well, gee, I should do something really big on my 50th birthday. And especially since I have all these flight benefits, right? But I honestly don't think I'm going to do much, if anything, really. Number one, I don't have a lot of money. I did get my tax refund back. Boy, this video is already too long. I got my tax refund back. I got $1,200. I know. I got $1,200 back from my taxes. It's and my friends are all complaining that they got less this year than they did last year. But I got more than I don't know, whatever. I got $1,200 back from my tax refund. And I had the choice to either use that money to go on a vacation, like a real, serious, solid vacation. I had that choice, or the other choice was pay my credit card bills. Do you want to guess what I chose? Credit card bills. My Bank of America credit card was about $8.50, and I had about four change on my Capital One credit card. So the entire tax refund went to clearing most of my credit card debt out. I don't have a lot of credit card debt because I can usually control myself. So I'm, got like 100 and something left, I think, on one of my credit cards. So that's what I did with my tax refund instead of going on a trip. I will have lots of time off for my birthday. I just don't, and I'd like to go on a big trip. I'd love to go on a cruise. I would love to go on a cruise. But the idea of paying those credit cards down or off, and then putting a whole vacation on a credit card just feels wrong. And I don't know when this happened, that I sort of became an adult and made sort of decisions like this, but I'm not willing to just throw money on my credit card that I just paid off. So I'm probably going to do something simple for my birthday. One thought is to go on a hot air balloon ride in the mountains nearby in Las Vegas. That trip, I think a hot air balloon tour for one person is like $150. I would be going with other people, you know, that are on that tour, but just to go by myself, it's like 140 something, I think, dollars. So that's an idea, because I think that would be fun. Or the other idea I thought was, you know, I'm going to Tampa on a long layover. I'm going to Busch Gardens the first week of the month. But I really love Busch Gardens. I think it's the perfect amusement park. It's so small. There's not a lot of walking around. You just want to go on rides or roller coasters. It's pretty much all you do in Busch Gardens. So I'm thinking of either doing the hot air balloon thing or going to Tampa. There's an Econo Lodge. There's an Econo Lodge hotel that is absolutely horrifying. It is horrifying. It's scary. You want to sleep in the bathtub. But it's like $60 a night. So I'm thinking I might just go to Busch Gardens for 2 days. Maybe 3 if I want to push it, but I think 2 days would be good enough. And just ride roller coasters for a couple of days. I don't want to spend a lot of money because I just paid all my credit cards off. And I don't want to be away from Buddy for very long. I don't want to be away from him for longer than 3 days, you know, and so I think a cruise is out of the question. Because I'd have to travel there and then a 3-day cruise and then traveling back. I just think I'd be gone too long. And Buddy likes to go out. He likes to go out of the house. He's in the house for 3 days at a time at least when I'm at work. But the minute he really wants to go outside, and if anyone were to come into my apartment to kind of let him out, they wouldn't be able to get him back in for 3 or 4 hours because he really goes out there for a while. So it would be almost impossible to get anybody to kind of be patient enough to let Buddy out, be patient enough to let him do what he likes to do, and then wait for him to come back to the apartment, which is what I do. I sit here in a window playing a video game, and if I see him walk by the window, I let him in. But how do you have someone else do that, right? So I think I'm just going to play it really simple. And if I do anything big for a vacation, maybe I'll save that for my anniversary of my sobriety date or some other time this year. But I'd rather not be away from Buddy for too long, and I don't want to spend a lot of money. So, you know, I know I have these flight benefits and I can go anywhere, but there are very real concerns. You know, maybe I'll save my big birthday trip for next year. I'll be making more money and I'll be in a better position, and Buddy might be more comfortable being boarded or something. So maybe I'll do that then. But this video has gone from an intent for me to give you a quick update as to what's been going on into being 33 minutes long so far. Yeah. So, some of you like long videos, so there you go. I will talk to you guys later. And I am putting together a question and answer video. So if you have any questions about being a flight attendant, my life, the cat, anything, feel free, drop a question below. And I will talk to you guys later. Until then, fly safe. Bye.